Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to give folks just another minute or two to hop on, and then we'll get started. Great, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Sarah Senyuk. I serve as the Director of Advocacy and Communications for Refugee Council USA. Today we will have an amazing conversation with our refugee leaders to explore what welcome and integration can look like if refugees and other forcibly displaced persons are in the lead of what that conversation looks like. We encourage folks to ask questions. You can ask questions in the chat box or in the Q&A, and our panelists will answer them at the end of our session. And with that, I would like to hand things over to our wonderful moderator, Drusilla, and please take it away.
Hello. Welcome, everyone. Today, you will face amazing leaders, and I want this to be a conversation, not a monologue. My name is Drusilla Mugorewera. I am a board member of the Refugee Congress and an honorary delegate from Tennessee. For living, I am the Diversity Trust Builder Consultant. And the Refugee Congress is a national member-based organization, and we are in 50 states in the District of Columbia. And we do influence decisions by raising our voices to decision makers about issues that affect our communities. Our mission is just simple. Wherever discussions are around the table regarding refugees and immigrants, we want our voices to be an equal partner at the table. So there is no business for us without us. And on behalf of the Refugee Congress, RCUSA, ECDC, the Refugee Advocacy Lab, and the Refugee Storytellers Collective, I am pleased to welcome you to this important conversation. What it means to welcome from the perspective of refugee leaders. We are having this conversation during important week that takes place around this time every year. Welcoming Week. During Welcoming Week, communities across the country celebrate what it means to be inclusive. Today, we are going to hear from leaders who have experienced forced displacement on what this means to them, what has made them feel welcome, what hasn't, and their recommendations for communities and organizations that seek to be inclusive forward. We have with us amazing and informal, we will have an informal conversation, and I would like to introduce the first, Taif, you can raise your hand. Taif Jen is the Director of Policy and Practice for RCUSA. Welcome, Taif. And we have Oliver Bukuru, who is a refugee organizer for Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon and the Refugee Advocacy Lab's state lead. Welcome,
Hi.
Oliver. And Emma Yaka is a delegate representative Illinois at the Refugee Congress and a case manager at Heartland Alliance. Emma, welcome. So before I introduce and I give a word to these amazing speakers and panelists, I want to share one quote from Albert Einstein. You know, Einstein was a refugee himself. He said, the significant problems we have cannot be solved at the same level of thinking with which we created them. The significant problems we have cannot be solved at the same level of thinking with which we have created them. So what is the speed we have to use to solve the problems we have today? So Taif, I know that this coming week, the Refugee Congress and RC USA in collaboration with ECDC will release a new report with recommendation on how to measure integration outcomes with the new holistic approach. Can you tell us how this report came together and what its key findings are, please?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much, Gisela, first of all, for the warm welcome, and huge thanks to everyone else who's tuning in. I'm really thrilled to have this opportunity to be able to talk about this report, and can't wait to share it with everyone, hopefully next week. I also, before I address that question, you know, we're talking about welcome and inclusion at a time when I think, again, our country is facing yet another ongoing attacks against the immigrant community, as we're seeing what's going on with the elected officials putting people on buses and sending them left and right and literally toying with their lives. And it's wrong. It's a practice that's been going for a while, and it must stop. I think we're better than this, and immigrants, all immigrants, deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. So with that out of the way, you know, let me share a bit about myself and kind of what brought me to this report. Around 16 years ago, I was one of the 4 million Iraqi refugees who fled the Iraq War and the violence that followed after, and we saw refuge in Damascus, Syria. So fast forward to today, being able to be in the position that I am with Refugee Council USA to discuss with you all what integration and welcome mean, and how to be a voice really for every single person out there with a lived experience in forced displacement is deeply meaningful and as well as rewarding to me. And I share this with everyone, you know, hopefully not to sounding like I'm trying to discuss my own personal story with forced displacement, but it's because I truly believe that those with lived experience are the best voices and are the best experts in impacting policies that they've been impacted by for many years, and to address ongoing challenges as well as present solutions to these challenges. So this is where this integration study comes in. Refugee Council USA, in partnership with Refugee Congress and the Ethiopian Community Development Council, conducted a year-long study to learn directly from current and forcibly displaced persons, as we call them, FDPs, about what integration means to them, highlighting some of the biggest challenges they've been facing, as well as provide recommendations to help address some of those needs. And the method that we use to conduct this study is a co-design method with those with lived experience with FDPs. And those FDPs came together and developed a set of FDP-led and data-backed recommendations to reframe the metrics that we use to measure integration to inform better and more efficient services and programming. We had, like our co-design team consisted of 14 individuals, 8 of them had those direct lived experience and 6 were subject matter experts. And then that co-design committee talked with over 42 individuals across the country with different experiences in forced displacement, again, to ask them the question, the core research question that we asked them is, hey, like from the perspectives of refugees and asylum seekers, what factors contribute to successful integration in the United States? And so some of our findings included one that kind of was surprising to us all was English language acquisition. That was like our number one most frequently mentioned subject across all focus groups. And clearly language was a barrier to many of the other issue areas that we ran into. And then followed by jobs and livelihoods. You know, integration in the US for a while relies heavily on the economic self-sufficiency of those with experience in forced displacement. However, our participants, many of them really emphasized how overwhelmed they were by that early emphasis on trying to find employment, and some are forced to find kind of any employment that sometimes doesn't even match their skills and expertise that they bring to the table. Third, you know, education. One thing that I found really exciting about this report is that the participant didn't only highlight the things that didn't work, but they also highlighted what actually works for them. For example, in education, while it certainly it doesn't come without its limitation, many of our participants indicated that the process of accessing education in the US was relatively smooth in comparison to the other areas, and as well as their experiences in trying to get access to English language trainings and lessons. However, they did emphasize that there needs to be a lot more investments in the area of education. Accessing mental health and was something that also kept coming up, an issue that continues to hinder really the journey of integration for many of our participants in this report. And last but not least, obviously, identity and inclusion. They both emerged as clear related themes that were prominent as more tangible topics, such as housing, healthcare, and employment. So those are our findings. And then I'm happy to talk more about recommendations, but Priscilla, let me pass the mic back to you to see if you have.
Thank you for sharing, Taif, those critical priority areas. Of course, we'll talk about recommendation and what does it mean for our partners. And now let me move to Emma. Emma, after telling the audience briefly who you are, I would like to ask you a question. Since you came to Chicago, you have dedicated yourself to community advocacy and engagement, including as the director of the World Out channel, a YouTube channel that provides basic education and resources to refugee community. From your experience doing this work, can you tell us what actions your city, your community, your neighbors can take to make newcomers feel included? Thank you.
Thank you. Do you hear me? Is my sound okay? Thanks. This is a very good opportunity to express myself here. So my name is Emayaka. I've lived with the experience of being a refugee, at the same time working with refugees in different aspects and different levels. So a little bit about me, I'm a Ugandan, and then I came to United States in 2017 July or August there. And I've been doing multiple jobs around as an immigrant. I've been working with Heartland Alliance, humanitarian service organization. I provide the medical case management and PC preferred community. I do provide these services to newly arrived refugees in the United States, with helping them access medical services and mental services around Chicago. I also am a delegate at Refugee Congress of Illinois. I'm a co-chair of World Refugee Chicago, World Refugee Day Chicago. I have a lot that I do on community levels. I really appreciate the question. about my experience doing this work. Coming to Chicago, I was impressed and excited. Though the city, Chicago sounds more than the state itself, I found out that Chicago sounds a lot than even the city, Illinois. When I was given in Chicago, I used to tell my friends that I'm going to state of Illinois, state of Chicago, but I was wrong. I was supposed to tell them that this is a city. However, I found out that Chicago is a city of diversity. I mean, it's a full of meaningful, inclusive population of refugees and immigrants. When they brought me here to Chicago, I was blessed in area which is a little bit safer in terms of security, affordability in terms of standard of living, but not now. By then, things was a little bit cheap, but right now things are more elevated a little bit in terms of pricings and rent. And the place I'm living right now, it's a friendly area, which is Rogers Park in north side of Chicago. This area is where most refugees and immigrants are resettled. It includes all people from part of the world, like people from Africa, Asia, Mexico, and American themselves too. They live around here, and many other ethnics. All these ethnic groups of people, they come with best cultural food, music, stores, and practical languages, which we really try to communicate within our community. And also there is easy accessibility to social services like public transportation, schools, and hospitals in Chicago. I found out that Chicago has at least reliable public transportation. When we come here, we don't drive. We don't have experience of driving. So it takes some time for you to have a car or to get used of driving. So being that it's reliable in transportation, so it makes life much easier in terms of accessing jobs, moving around, navigating around. That's what I found out when I came here. But I have two major reasons that I can really bring out that has made Chicago more welcoming based on my experience. Government elected officials have been putting out the messages of welcoming refugees and immigrants in the city, and they work closely and directly with refugees and immigrants from grassroots. I do work with the elected officials in Chicago, and that's just an opportunity, and that extends those officials closer to us, to welcome us, and also to make us feel comfortable, being in the house where you're visiting your friend and the parents are not aware that you are there, you don't feel comfortable. But when these officials come out and say, hey, you are welcome, we feel much comfortable. And I found that has been the best way of welcoming refugees. Another reason has been like self-refugee community engagement. We are really depending on each other in most cases because of limited resources. We are using an opportunity of community itself to build its own networking and engagements within their community. And then we have very good volunteer commitment teams that we have created within the community. And then there is too much love and care that attracts other refugees to move to Chicago. Like in the last 7 months, actually, I have received 15 refugees who have come to Chicago because of me. They are inspired by the refugees who are already here. And that shows that there is warm welcoming in Chicago. So that's a little bit about my experience working with refugees and the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma, for sharing that. And is there any one thing that didn't work well you would like the audience to know about in your welcoming experience?
Yes, I think in previous years, it's totally different from right now. I will bring that experience in terms of racial interpersonal racial discrimination, actually, that I've encountered as an individual, that I would like to highlight this. If I have more time, like 3-4 minutes, I can highlight that because that's what I can say that I saw it as a big issue. But I can give opportunity to somebody else. I can come next, but I would love to talk about that impact. and how it has impacted my life here too. Thanks.
Okay, we'll come back to that after Oliver says something. Oliver, after introducing yourself and talk about yourself in a few words, I know education, and it was mentioned that it's a big barrier, and for you, it's something that's incredibly important, both before you came to America and now. I know you recently got a master's in public health from the University of Memphis and are interested in pursuing a PhD. How would you describe the role of education and educational institutions in feeling welcomed?
Thank you for the introduction. My name is Oliva, everybody. I have lived experience of living in a refugee camp. I lived in Duta camp in Tanzania for about 10 years before my arrival here. I worked for EMO. I'm fairly new as an organized refugee organizer, and I'm also the delegate for the state of Oregon.
To be completely honest, school is not that easy. My first year over at PSU, although I felt extremely welcome, you know, I went to orientation, you know, there was a lot of people greeting us, you know, sharing their experiences at school. You know, I felt like I can do it, but the problem is I was a first gen student, and back then, this was like 8 years ago, almost 9. My English wasn't the best, so let's start from there. As a first gen student, I kind of had to figure everything on my own because I didn't have anybody, you know, leading me. Though I felt welcomed, I also felt lost, you know. A lot of the resources that were like made available for everybody wasn't made available for me. Like I didn't know, you know, where to get such resources. I wasn't even connected to my counselor until like the second term. But I do remember I registered my classes on my own. I almost actually flunked out of college the first year, not because like the material was difficult, but more so because, you know, I just could not balance college and then personal life. You know, I was used to like high school situation. That's not like the same thing when you go to college. And then there's the resource part. Like I just did not know where to go if you need help, because during like welcome week, they're not so focused on the resources. They're just focused on you, you know, feeling welcome, you know, just feel like you're belonged. It took me some time to figure some stuff out. And, you know, during higher education, you know, I kind of already knew what to expect. So, you know, I just figured my way in.
Thank you for sharing that experience. And it's amazing. All your stories are our power, as we say at the Refugee Congress. Personally, when I came as a refugee in 2009, even though I traveled in many countries, including the US, I was lost too, and I was confused. As a former member of parliament and government, I was shocked to see my first job being $6.55 an hour, and I didn't have a choice to refuse it or to look around or to. And one of the things, I know we have case managers in the audience. I think one of the things the case manager can do, it's more being resourceful, connect the community resources. And I'm grateful that many organizations, also including faith-based organizations, were there to welcome me and to welcome my family. And we build strong relationship that will never go away. But my one thing I was yearning to have, even if they gave me shelter and food and thing, I was yearning to have a community of professionals to talk with. And same with my husband, when he came, he had to go back to school. Even if he had a college degree, he had to go back to school. And that was all shocking, but you know, we are resilient people. We moved on and we find a way to thrive. So now, Emma, going back to you, tell us, what inspired you to put out a YouTube channel, and you can elaborate on the racial issue you talked about earlier. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the reason why I put a YouTube channel, it was in 2020, when COVID-19 hit. Mostly refugees were impacted because of COVID. The information was limited. And I was looking for the resources, how we can break this information into like simplest manner and easy language for refugees to access, because I was working as a medical case manager in the community, but I was the one facing this big challenge, like helping refugees be more be more careful with COVID-19, because I didn't want to lose my community. I didn't want people to die. And it was so hard, the refugees to get this information. I tried to reach out to different people with the resources, but my vision was not seen actually. No one would listen to me. I say, hey, refugees are now closed inside their house. They are no longer working, but the only way to get them information, we are stopped from doing home visits. The only way to help them is to make use of social media platform to give them information directly to their phone or their computers in their houses. And no one would listen to me. No one would hear me, like my vision of doing that, until I decided to do a YouTube channel on my own. I used a closet and using iPhone, small iPhone for my work, to start streaming, recording myself, using my own examples to do videos and then send it to refugees within the community. You know, I used those network that I had on my phone to reach out, and actually was doing good. That YouTube channel helped many refugees. Most of organizations use those videos actually to teach refugees during cultural orientations. And I achieved a lot of articles on when you check my name. I think my first article was about doing a YouTube channel in the closet, you know. And I found out that myself, I cannot do this because I'm not the senior, or I'm not the expert entirely. I had to involve other experts in the community, like doctors, interviewing them, nutritionists. Like I was looking for all entire resources, and there were very many people, you know, helping me get the information out. And that's why I did this YouTube channel, and I'm still doing. I'm looking for what I need to have. I want to have TV show for immigrants in Chicago. That's my goal.
I invite the audience to visit the channel and subscribe to that YouTube channel. So can you briefly talk about the ratio program you were talking about?
Yeah, so I will talk about this might sound so sensitive, but I would apologize in advance, because I'm the voice and I'm using my voice to help other people who are going through what I've been going through. So there is high interpersonal racial discriminations that I have encountered, and being rejected by one community, which is people of color, means African American versus African immigrants. I understand that discrimination and the racism they face, I also face. Because I'm also Black, but I'm not ready, or we are not ready to face double discrimination in this country, regardless of who we are. I'm a little bit tired of expressing all this every time, and this is the only time that I can use my voice to highlight out. I'll briefly take you back a little bit. Lack of proper refugee introduction system to US have led to our invisibility and the disconnections from ground host communities, especially African American communities. They don't know why we are here. I'm sorry that we are here to take their jobs. That's what most are here, and their resources. But the news and the data from National Cities Index shows that immigrants in Chicago metro area paid more than 20.6 billion in tax 2019. Is that not a contribution to this country? So, and we are here because we cared about our life and future, and America decided to give that gift of life back to us. by bringing us here for safety reasons. And if it is jobs, actually, if it is jobs that people claim that we are doing most of entry jobs, which most of people don't want to do it, and we are doing it. But they
Thank you.
claim we are taking their jobs. And if we talk about racism, not every Black is facing racism. I haven't. I will be honest with the audience, because I received better support and care by white than individuals have been claiming to be my community and that have rejected me based on my reasons, and that hurts me. When I came here to America, I was picked up from airport by white, given apartment by white. My apartment was filled up with items by white volunteers. I applied jobs by white, and I refused to be hired by Black because of my accent, because it was the manager. I don't know why. Accent doesn't make me not to work. I can still work. And I experienced that it was so painful, not being hired for what I wanted and what I have experienced in it, because I wanted to be a patient transportation in a hospital, but they refused, and then they sent me to housekeeping, where I went and I faced a lot of bullying after several times being asked to go out and do weeding after break time, and do cigarette, which I don't. But after refusing, actually, I faced a very rough moment in my first job. They bullied me. They made me work very hard because some of them were managers and supervisors. So I could not have the voice to speak or report them, you know, and that was not fair for me until I had to leave the job for bullying. And that was my job for surviving. And I could not drive Uber because I didn't have the car. One day, I was going to renew my state ID in this in state office in downtown in Chicago. So when I was going to town, the train went underground, and then my GPS got lost, and I didn't know where to get out of the train. But actually, I approached one of the person that I trusted that can help me, tell me where I should get out of the train. This gentleman, nice and Black, he just pushed me away and yelled at me in a very, very rude ways. And I got ashamed in front of people. I decided to remain calm. I went direct up to South Side because I could not feel, I was panicking. I had to walk back. I got scared to go back to the train. I walked for 2 hours to get to the office of state office. And I was like, even if I was homeless, maybe something came in the mind that maybe I'm homeless, I'm a baker, but I didn't deserve that yelling. I didn't deserve that at that moment. So I expressed that and I put it that on account. Few months ago, I'm working with the refugees and immigrants. One of the family from Rwanda, this boy is 14, on the neighborhood, was trying to befriend the community, the people living around them, the Black community. And he didn't know how to use the word, and that word was misinterpreted. He said, hey, my niggas, and that was a very bad word. He was shot, but he didn't die, but he was shot. Completely, like he was shot from his buttocks, and then the blade went up to the knee. This boy has been down for many months, and then they were scared. They had to move out of Chicago. They went somewhere else. So I find this, and many people are quitting jobs because in the jobs we are working, most of Black people are the only one who are supervisors and managers. They are really like humiliating people of people coming in these countries as immigrants. They are disrespecting us. They are trying their best to bully us within the jobs we are working, and this is not leaving us space.
Emma, I'm sorry for all this mistreatment. It shows that we have hard work to do as executive. I saw also that when you come to volunteering, probably we have few of Black African American volunteering. So I can hear your pain, and this is something we will help you, because like Refugee Congress, we can make as a topic. And as a businesswoman now, I'm building the bridges with African American community. And this is one of the reasons I resigned from my position to go and help the community to understand us, to work collaboratively. So thank you for sharing those experiences, and we will work together to solve those problems.
Thank
Taif, I wanted to ask you, you did talk about those findings. What those findings mean for our partners and how we can work collaboratively, move towards solving those barriers?
Yeah, thank you, Drusella. And I also just want to thank you, Emma, for sharing your
And I wanted
experiences.
to be mindful about the time, because time is running, so be brief. And I will ask the audience to participate. What is welcoming means for you participants in one word? One word, what welcoming means. So go ahead, Taif.
Yeah, so back to what those findings mean, we came up with a list of recommendations to help our partners, whether in the U.S. government, resettlement agencies, and other stakeholders, to improve the integration experience here in the U.S. Those include, I'm going to go real quick. One is to expand integration measurements to accommodate wide range of experiences. And with that, we designed actually a self-assessment tool for those with experience in forced displacement to share on a regular basis, kind of provide feedback and data about their experiences. Recommendation 2 is to provide equitable opportunities to access resources and public benefits for all forcibly displaced populations. 3 is to continue to center the voices of FDPs to better understand and improve integration outcomes and bridge that gap with US-born citizens. And 4th is to enhance collaboration and information sharing between government agencies, resettlement agencies, and local communities. And that just brings me to the second tool that we designed, which is called Remap Integration. So in addition to that self-assessment tool, we created another resource, a tool that is designed specifically to help resettlement agencies respond to the needs and the results from the self-assessment tool. So basically, it's a very unique and productive systems where the self-assessment tool feeds stakeholders with the rich and thorough data they need to improve their practices. They take that, analyze it, synthesize it, and then they turn that information into action. So that's basically the quick gist of the report, our recommendations, and the tools. And obviously, it's a very big report, so you'll see a lot more of it next week. Over to you, Drusella.
Thank you. And when the report will be published, I think all of us can have access to that and go into details. Back to Oliver. I wanted you, as we get to the end of the conversation, what is your recommendation to the higher learning institutions, to where you work as an organizer, and also for health provider?
When I was still doing my undergrad, I feel like I would have been more successful if I had received like 3 things. If I had taken some kind of like career planning course, if I had access to my advisor on a regular basis. Also, if I received enhanced student services. I remember like I had to work and I was struggling, and I relied heavily on financial aid. And without these things, like I just could not go on. And I'm fairly new on my position, so I'm still learning a lot of things. So I don't think I would have an answer for that right now. Yeah, that's about it. I can't hear you.
Do you have any recommendation for community leaders or other community partners?
Like the things they can do to make us feel welcomed.
Yes.
thinking back when we first got here, we really weren't taught about American culture. Like I remember we came right before July 4th. And when the firework went off, we all thought like the country is under attack or something. We had to hide because we thought like we're gonna die, you know? So I feel like if we had been educated about that, we wouldn't have, you know, gone into panic attack about that. Also just be like kind, you know, because a lot of us didn't even speak English, you know, but you know, a lot of us can read language expression, you know, just be kinder. And also show us around in the community, because for the first few months, we literally did not go anywhere. We were just there, you know, because we didn't know places to go. And we didn't want to get lost and things like that. But, you know, they did do the best they could, honestly. And back then, we didn't really have somebody who spoke the same language as us. So they had, for them to communicate with us, they had to use like charades or something, or just draw a picture of what they're trying to communicate with us. So it was extremely hard, but they utilized the best resources possible to help us out. And for that, I'm grateful.
So I don't think we have a question in the comments. If there is any, just flag it out. Taif, what would be one of your recommendations if you have to tell to the audience and to the whole world, what would be the best thing to do to let people feel more welcome?
I think I have to second Olive. Just, I mean, don't be afraid. Reach out to us. Honestly, like a while ago, I started a YouTube channel, which I stopped working on, but the concept of it was to bring people together to have a meal together and talk about their experiences. And I think for me, as someone who loves food, I find inviting people over and breaking bread together is a great way to get to know one another and help folks get more involved and get to know their community a little better.
Thank you. And Emma, one recommendation?
Thank you. I'll also second all the recommendations that are being put down by all my colleagues. But I will say, I think being more inclusive and recognizing this kind of stories within the community also, it can help us find a best way to help the community. And also, I think there's a lot of missing data that are never been collected. And we would love that also to happen. People like Taif who are doing this work, we need to see that there's some of those that are missing should be at least collected. And also breaking the barriers of you know, refugees needs to they need to be seen, they need to be heard, they need to have the voice. I think we are always putting ourselves in the front to speak on their behalf, and sometimes they are misrepresented, but we would love also to be part of the movement in case of changes that we're looking to have. Thanks.
And thank you for your contributions to you, all the participants. And I think this is recorded in case in the future somebody want to have a recording. And I wanted to say that we have to be seen, visible, and be around the tables. Because my one personal quote I will end up with is, if you don't invest, you don't harvest. All these things, issues we are talking about, we have to be the engine of change. We have to be the engines of transformation we want to see. And I thank you particularly for the organizers, RCUSA, Refugee Congress, ECDC. And you should have been somewhere else, but you came because you care about welcoming. So let us continue this welcoming week. And I think if you come up with another questions, the way you sign up, you can channel your questions through the way you signed up. And I thank you so much, great leaders. We are there if you want to collaborate, if you want to be seen, organized. So let us help each other to make our communities more profitable. I want also to thank all the participants and all the contributors for the refugee integration, faith-based organization, donors, volunteers, interns, everybody, case managers who is in that business, and our supporters financially. So let us keep engaged and moved to do the well work, and then to give forward, also participate in different activities. As the former director, I want to tell you that sometimes you invite people to quarterly consultation meetings and you don't see them show up. So I think we have to mobilize ourselves to be around those tables where decisions are made. Otherwise, they will impact us directly or indirectly. Thank you again, and have a good day, have a good evening, and thank you for this time, best time together. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
All right, bye.